Welcome back to Roundball Rants, where the takes are hot, the facts are fresh, and the caffeine level is, well, it's frankly concerning. We're officially flipping the page to the Western Conference for our division previews. And if you thought the East was wild, buckle up. Out here, the competition's deeper, the egos are bigger, and the standings swing faster than Dylan Books' reputation on Twitter. Now, before we get rolling, do your good deed for the day, hit that like button, subscribe, share this episode. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, drop that 5-star review. It's the easiest assist you'll ever dish out, and it keeps Roundball Rants running in transition. We just wrapped up the Eastern Conference Outlook, and now it's time to cross over to the West, starting with a division that's got everything: elite young talent, some roster drama, and at least one team that's still pretending to have defensive identity. Yep, it's the Southwest Division. And man, what a storyline buffet we've got heading into 2025 and 2026. Victor Wembanyama looks like he's ready to go from Rookie of the Year to All-NBA. The Spurs are done experimenting. They're building around the alien for real now. Houston spent the summer talking playoffs, and looks like they might actually mean it. Memphis finally gets Ja Morant back healthy and focused. Keyword, hopefully. New Orleans is once again crossing fingers, toes, and every ligament in Zion's body for a healthy season. And then there's Dallas. Luka is gone. Traded to Los Angeles in a move nobody saw coming. The Mavs are now in total reset mode, trying to find their next identity without the guy who was their last identity. This division has swagger, promise, and a fair bit of uncertainty. Basically, it's the NBA in a nutshell. So let's get into it, from the bottom up, starting with a team that's been living on the edge of potential for years, the New Orleans Pelicans. Do you ever feel sorry for a team? Because I'm starting to feel real bad for the Pelicans. It's not that the hype was missing. They've had talent, flashes of promise, but for a few seasons now, they've been stuck in the what-if lane. And that lane's full of potholes. Now, as we roll into 2025 and 26, the big question: can New Orleans stop being the NBA's cautionary tale and start being a legitimate story? Let's set the scene. They've had a rough history of injuries and inconsistency, but this offseason they made some moves, big ones. They brought in Jordan Poole and Sadiq Bey, in a trade that sent away C.J. McCollum and others. They signed Kevin Looney to bring veteran presence, and they drafted young guard Jeremiah Fears with the 7th overall pick in 2025. So the blueprint is new wings, new speed, new hope. But of course, the caveat remains the same: health. And at the heart of this franchise is still Zion Williamson. When he's on the court, they're dangerous. When he's not, well, you already know the story. The current roster features Jordan Poole, Trey Murphy III, Zion, Sadiq Bey, Yevis Messi, and Carlo Matkovic. Got it? Good. Because now the storylines. Health is the fulcrum. Zion Williamson is still a top 10 talent when he's healthy, but the Pelicans have yet to ride a full season of that being the case. If he can manage 60-plus games, they're dangerous. If not, we're repeating yesterday's script again. Chemistry and identity are also important. They're trying to shift towards a faster, perimeter-oriented style with Poole and Bey, while Looney anchors the defense. If the pieces fit, this could finally be the year they gel. And development. Trey Murphy III, Herbert Jones, Yevis Messi all need to step up. Rookie Jeremiah Fears is the wild card. If he adjusts quickly, he might be a steal. If not, the rebuild might feel like it's still in limbo. The Southwest Division is stacked. Even if the Pelicans improve, the league won't wait for them to figure it out. They need to show up early and often. And then finally, they do have a deadline caution. The team has tradable assets: Poole, Bey, Zion, if the trust breaks. So the timeline matters. Are they building for now, or are they building for later? So how many wins am I projecting for this team in 2025 and 26? I'm going to be exact here. 32 wins. That's right in line with analysts, consensus, and the betting market. Maybe a little bit above the baseline expectations. But to be realistic, if Zion stays healthy and the new pieces gel, not playoff bound, but a definite step forward. In short, the Pelicans are at a turning point. The roster overhauled, hope renewed, but the scars of past seasons loom large. If everything clicks, health, chemistry, young guns stepping up, this could finally be the year where they stop asking what if and start answering what now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's shift our focus to the Alamo, the Riverwalk, the San Antonio Spurs. If you've been watching the NBA's young renaissance, the Spurs are suddenly the team making you stop scrolling to say, uh-oh, they might actually be good again. After years of rebuilding and citing at the next year label, this season feels like a for real year. The question, can they flip the script, or is this still a work in progress? Let's lay out what we know. They ended last year 34-48. That wasn't disastrous for a young team, but it was clearly a stepping stone. Fast forward to the summer. The big story is their franchise centerpiece, Victor Wembanyama. Yes, the 7'3" French freak of nature. He's healthy again, after being slowed by a serious blood clot issue. They're also rolling with a new head coach. After the legendary Greg Popovich era ended, we have Mitch Johnson steering the ship. And they added some serious youth rookies like Dylan Harper, the number 2 pick in 2025, and returning Rookie of the Year, Stephon Castle. On the roster front, at guard, they have De'Aaron Fox, the veteran speed demon who came in to provide scoring and playmaking. Stephon Castle, who we mentioned earlier, is poised to take on a larger role. Devin Vassell is a key two-way presence. At forward, they have Harrison Barnes anchoring things with veteran savvy. And then at center, you got Wembanyama, obviously the anchor, the half-court offense, the rim protector. With that set up, let's dig into the storylines. Wembanyama's return to full form is crucial. If his body cooperates, he could legitimately orbit MVP conversations. If not, then we're back to tomorrow for real mode. That blood clot scare wasn't just minor, it was major. So the offseason clearance is a huge boost, but the calendar still worries you. Coaching transition and identity. Popovich's departure, it looms large. Johnson has big shoes to fill, and while the vibe is positive, there's going to be growing pains. The team is adopting to a faster pace, more modern NBA spacing, but it also needs to figure out how much of the old culture stays. Are they going to defend like the Spurs used to? Can they win in close games without the Popovich sanding? Youth meeting the expectations. Castle, Harper, maybe others, this is their moment. The veterans like Fox and Barnes, they bring credibility, but the upside is in the young blood. If Harper steps up quicker than expected or Castle takes that big leap, this team could surprise. But if they stall, we'll chalk it up to another year of building. The Southwest is no easy walk. Other teams are improving. So for the Spurs, improving record isn't enough. You have to improve the relative to very good competition. The schedule, the road trips in that division, the back-to-backs, they all matter. They also have to match up their timeline with their ambition. Are the Spurs pushing now to make a leap, or are they still in the step stage rebuilding? The presence of Fox suggests a push. Wembanyama plus a young core plus veteran mentor means that the gears are turning into the high gear. But you sense that the playoff timeline is pressing. They can't afford a huge regression this season. Now, after weighing all of that, how many wins do we see for them in 25 and 26? 45. Yes, I believe the Spurs will break through the 40-win barrier, given their talent infusion, the health of Wembanyama, and a favorable young team trajectory. But I'm not going full title contender just yet. 45 feels realistic, but ambitious. The Spurs are entering a bridge to something big season. If everything clicks, Wembanyama healthy, youth stepping up, coaching remains solid, they could be in the playoff mix. If one of more of those things crack, then we see the growing pains. Either way, this is the year where fans stop asking when and start asking how far. Now we're going to head north, up to Dallas. And buckle up, Dallas Maverick fans, because this franchise is officially in transition mode. Yes, the elephant in the room, Luka, had his moment, but we're past that chapter. This year, it's about building a new identity, and whether they embrace it or resist it will determine if this season is a step forward or another sideways shuffle. Let's dive into what the roster currently looks like, because that's where the real story is. At point guard, the Mavericks roll with D'Angelo Russell, a steady veteran who can create, shoot, run pick and roll, and bring leadership. They also have Klay Thompson, yes, the sharpshooter whose name still draws attention. He plays the role of experienced marksman and off-ball mover. At small forward, they drafted Cooper Flagg with the number 1 overall pick. Young, high upside, raw, he's the future, not just a project anymore. And at power forward, the Mavericks locked in P.J. Washington with a new extension, signaling they believe in him as a core piece. And at center, you've got Anthony Davis. Yes, the big name. He anchors the paint, protects the rim, and if healthy, makes the lineup credible. There are also pieces like Derek Lively II in the mix for minutes and growth. But what's the narrative here? First, we have to overhaul the identity. They've traded the one superstar carry model, thanks to that earlier phrase, for a more balanced, multi-piece structure. The veteran spread is real. Russell, Thompson, Davis. And the youth injection of Flagg signals a long-term view. The question, can they gel now, or will the adjustment cost them this season? Health and durability, like everyone else, remains an issue. Davis hasn't been fully healthy or reliable in recent years, and the big men injuries, they multiply fast. If Davis, Washington, and Lively can stay healthy, this team can defend and rebound. If they don't, it'll be more of the same. We also have youth versus experience. Flagg is going to have growing pains. Thompson and Russell, they won't be in their primes forever. This team hinges on the young wings and the bigs showing up quicker than people expect. Or else the rebuild disguised as a playoff push, tag, still sticks. They're in that brutal Western Conference swing zone. Other teams are ascending, so Dallas can't just improve, they need to improve faster than others. And that requires them to reclaim the relevance. If they don't, they risk falling behind. Expectation management. This is a team that can move into the play-in or maybe a lower seed conversation if things break right. But calling them a contender, not at all. The expectation should be growth, building identity, and maybe sneaking into the mix. So after weighing everything, roster quality, health risk, schedule difficulty, and youth transition, I have the Mavericks pulling off 38 wins in 2025 and 26. That number reflects a step forward from the chaos, a respect for the talent, but also a recognition that they're not fully formed yet. If they hit 38 wins, I'll call it successful. If they exceed 45, then they're in the surprise mode. If they fall below 35, then the transition didn't take place. All right, Grizzly fans, time to perk up. Because even though the baby ball tags and the young core still fighting it out headlines have followed this team for years, 2025 and 2026 feels like it's okay, time to do business version of Memphis. We're not talking a full-blown title favorite, not yet, but this is a squad that could absolutely hang in the hunt if they stop tripping over themselves. First, the backdrop. Last season they finished 48-34, made the playoffs, but then looked like they hit a ceiling when the competition stiffened. They're in that weird zone where a good season feels like base expectation, but anything less than a leap forward feels like wasted opportunity. At the core, you still have Ja Morant, the explosive guard who can take over games, dunk, make highlight reel plays. You got Jaren Jackson Jr. locked in with a massive extension, signaling that the front office still believes he's the defensive pillar and secondary star. They drafted Zach Edey in 2024, a big man with raw power and rim presence who made an impact off the bat. They made a major move this offseason, trading away Desmond Bane to the Magic, meaning that the wings and scoring load shift replacement pieces, they're all needed. On the coaching front, they brought in Tuomas Asalo as the head coach. New voice, fresh scheme, fresh expectations. So what are the storylines? Well, health and durability, like everyone else. Morant has had injury history. Jackson has had his own issues. If those two can stay healthy and available, Memphis is dangerous. If one or both slip, the drop-off is very real. And let's not forget Edey. Rookie sensation, yes, but still has some durability unknowns. Replacing Bane in the offensive balance. Trading Bane wasn't just moving a player, it was reshaping a system. He was a high-efficiency shooter, a trusted secondary option. Now the Grizzlies need someone else to step up. Maybe Edey, evolving back to the basket. Maybe Jackson, expanding more. Maybe role players, hitting at new levels. The question, can they spread the load and avoid offensive stagnation? Identity under a new coach. Lasalo brings a different style. Memphis has long been high-pace chaos, but now the task is to match speed with structure. The division they play in doesn't let you hide mistakes. To win more consistently, they need fewer flash losses and more smart wins. Youth versus experience. The organization has balanced towards youth recently, but now it's time for maturation. Edey, Jackson, Morant, all in their primes or nearly there. The supporting cast must improve. Deep rotations and reliable bench minutes often separate playoff teams from pretenders. The division and the schedule challenges. The Southwest Division, brutal. The West, even worse. Memphis can't just hope things go right. They need things to go very right. Travel, rivalries, matchup problems, they all loom. A slow start could kill momentum. So with that context, how many wins am I projecting for the Grizzlies this season? After balancing the talent, the risk, the division environment, and the changes, I'm going with 44 wins. It's a modest leap, showing progress, making noise, maybe play-in or a low seed, but not pretending that they're at the top. Not yet. In short, the Grizzlies are at a crossroads. They lost a key piece in Bane, but they kept their core, added youth, and hired a new coach. If the pieces click, this season could be a stepping stone. If they don't, it could feel like same story, different year. All right, Houston. If you thought things were heating up last year, strap in. The Rockets have officially flipped the switch from promising young core getting closer to, okay, we're doing this now. No more waiting by the side of the highway for the train to arrive. They hopped aboard and pressed the pedal. Let's start with the roster, because this is where the real change lives. At the top of the list, Kevin Durant. Yes, that Kevin Durant. He landed via a blockbuster 7-team trade this summer, and then locked in a 2-year, $90 million extension with a player option for 2027 and 28. to stay with the Rockets. The young core didn't disappear. Alperen Sengun is locked in after his 5-year, $185 million extension and is primed to flourish now that Durant is beside him. Another major move comes with Jabari Smith Jr. secured a 5-year, $122 million extension, signaling Houston's commitment to the next generation. They also added veteran wings and depth. Dorian Finney-Smith agreed to a 4-year, $53 million deal. The trade package that brought Durant in also shipped out young guys like Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks, showing this is a win now, not we'll get there eventually team. We'd also like to note the relationship between Coach Udoka and Kevin Durant. They've been together for some time in Brooklyn and with Team USA basketball. That kind of relationship matters if the heat gets turned up. Now the storylines. First, this isn't we're building towards the future version of Houston anymore. It's the we're here, we want to win now, and we brought the guy version. Durant arriving plus the veteran retention, it equals seriousness. The ceiling just got a lot higher and the margin for error a lot smaller. Integration and chemistry matter. When you bring in a generational scorer like Durant, the risk isn't just on how he plays alone. It's how everyone else plays around him. How do Sengun and Smith Jr. adjust? How do the role players accept less ball if that's what the scheme demands? If the harmony clicks, this team could ascend fast. Health and age is also a concern. While Durant is super skilled, he's also 37 years old. Durability and minutes management becomes part of the equation. If he's in full flight, Houston could roar. If he's limited, they'll still be good, but maybe not elite. Defense and identity. They improved last season, but with the new roster additions, they're expected to defend, rebound, switch, and stress the opponent. When you have vets like Finney-Smith, Capella, yes, he's back in the mix, and Adams alongside Sengun, you're building a good two-way team. And then the expectations versus the pressure. Last season, they won 52 games and were a 2 seed. They went out early in the playoffs. Now the question isn't, can we, but will we? The window to justify the move is open, although it is short. The league is watching. So after weighing the roster talent, the veteran additions, the youthful core, and the Western Conference gauntlet, here's my exact win prediction for 25 and 26. 53. This team is built for that kind of number. Realistic, yet ambitious, given their trajectory. In short, the Rockets are no longer on the rise. They've risen. Now comes the proof. If they hit or exceed that win total, the contender label sticks. If they fall short, it'll be a disappointing pivot that raises questions about the timing. Either way, it's going to be fun in Houston this season. And there we have it, the wild, unpredictable, always entertaining Southwest Division. From New Orleans' growing pains to Houston's sudden power grab. From San Antonio's patient rebuild to Memphis trying to climb back into contender status. And of course Dallas, redefining itself after the Luka era. This division might not have the glamour of the Pacific, but it's got all the chaos we crave. Let's run it back real quick, team by team, with our final win total predictions for the 2025 and 26 season. We had the New Orleans Pelicans clocked in at 32 wins. Some promise, but still finding consistency. Next up, San Antonio with 36 wins. Slow growth, but Wemby foundation is real. We have the Dallas Mavericks at 38 wins. Progress through identity, not star power. The Memphis Grizzlies at 44 wins. New coach, familiar grit, and a little unpredictability. And then finally, the Houston Rockets, 53 wins. Durant's arrival coupled with the full buy-in and a genuine contender vibe. That's your order. Houston on top of the division, Memphis right behind, Dallas hanging around in the middle, and the Pelicans and Spurs still grinding for stability. If you're vibing with these previews and want to keep the momentum rolling as we head into the rest of the Western Conference, hit that like button, share this episode, and make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. It's the easiest way to support the show and keep Roundball Rants climbing right alongside these teams. And don't forget, drop your takes in the comments. Who's your sleeper? Who's your flop? Who's getting way too much love in the preseason hype? Let's talk about it. And until next time, I'm Vincent Cooper, and this is Roundball Rants, reminding you, it's not just basketball, it's therapy with a bounce.